Today, I want to talk about how not to care about what people think about you. I mean, you have to get to a point where you truly do not care what people think about you most of the time, right? And so that's what I want to talk about today. So let's see who's hopping on. Hopefully I'm on the right page in terms of which live I did this on right now. So let's see. All right, I don't know where this live thing is at right now. So hold on a second. Hold on. Let's see. I think we got about 20 billion people hopping on right now. So things are going a little bit slow. You know how we do. But like I said, I'm going to talk about how do you actually not care about what people think about you. There's two main things in terms of just not caring about what people think about you. All right, cool. There we go. It is on the right page. So the first thing I want to talk about, well, I want to tell you a quick story, right? So there is this magic forum with all these other entertainers. And in case you don't know, I was an entertainer. I was doing all these mentalism shows and everything. And when I was 13 years old, that's when I started doing restaurant magic. So I would go table to table and I would ask people, hey, would you like to see a miracle? And they'd say, of course, a miracle? Hell yeah. So I'd perform for them. I'm doing my thing. I'm making my money doing that, right? That's all I did to make money, was just perform in restaurants, and I would do the occasional corporate gig. Eventually I switched to the corporate market and just did corporate gigs. And from there I was marketing myself. And then there's this magic forum, right, with all these entertainers, right? Or these entertainers, what they would do, they would talk a lot of shiznit, a lot of trash, man. They, like, literally, I'd go on there, I'd post advice in terms of what I'm doing. Hey, here's how I get more tips in restaurants. Here's how I'm doing the marketing, cold calling, colding. So I'd post all these tips, right? And they're like, this dude's young. And I wasn't 13 at the time when I was posting. I was posting like in high school, maybe, right? So I wasn't 13. That's when I started restaurants. But when I was posting, I was like in high school and then in college and stuff, right? And so I'm posting, these guys, they're sitting there like, oh, this dude's young. There's no way he can be making that money. There's no way he's doing this full time. So they're talking a whole lot of noise, right? And eventually I learned to literally ignore them. I learned to ignore their opinions because it truly doesn't matter. And you have to get to a point where it doesn't matter what things people say about you. It doesn't matter because it doesn't affect you. This is one of the things that's obviously easier said than done, but you have to get to a point where it's just something you naturally do. And there's two ways I want to tell you in terms of how I did it. And the second way is the most important way. The first way is insanely practical. I mean, insanely practical, very kind of easy in a way, but is really practical in terms of what it is you need to do. So the first way is literally you just make more money. I mean, that's it. You just make more money, because the reason why you tend to care about what people think about you so much is because you're dependent on their opinions of you. So when you make more money, you become less dependent on other people's opinions. You just become less dependent on other people in general. So that is why I keep telling people, make more money. You put yourself in a position of power when you actually make some money, right? So that was the first thing I did. I literally just focused on the money. I'm like, how do I make more money? And once I started making more money, that's when everything started to change, because once again, I didn't care what they thought about me. And so this is where, I don't know if you guys heard about the Kevin Hart controversy thing with the Oscars and stuff. So basically Kevin Hart, 10 years ago or something like that, he sent a tweet. And remember, Kevin Hart is a comedian. Comedians say the craziest stuff. He sent a tweet. It was like a homophobic tweet or whatever, right? And he apologized for it years ago. And then all of a sudden he gets invited to the Oscars this year, and someone obviously says, look, 10 years ago, Kevin Hart said this, he's a homophobe and dude hates gays and all that, right? Kevin Hart's like, look, man, I apologized for that years ago. I'm not homophobic, none of that. He's like, I'm not going to talk about it. And so the Oscars dropped him. They dropped Kevin Hart. They're like, all right, we're not going to have you as a host. Now, imagine if Kevin Hart was in a situation where he needed the money, like he absolutely needed to do the Oscars. He'd be like, no, please. He'd be apologizing and everything. Like, I'm going to go on all these shows. Please. I'm sorry. He'd be apologizing like a mofo. But Kevin Hart, because he's obviously a millionaire, multi-millionaire, he was thinking like, you know what? Hey, I said it before. I apologize. If you guys don't accept it, that's on you. And he didn't care. He's like, I don't care, because Kevin Hart he's in a position of power in terms of it doesn't matter in terms of if they drop him or not. He's got money in the bank. So he doesn't really care about the opinions in that way. That's why you hear billionaires with FU money, because they just don't care. They just got so much that your opinions don't affect them. That is the insanely practical way to go about it. The other way, this is hands down the most important thing you could possibly do to not care about what people think. when you don't care about what people think, it's like this sense of relief inside of you. It's almost like you're willing to go all in with what you do, with who you are, and that sort of thing. So it's insanely important that you truly get to this point. It's one of those things where I tell people you got to live these motivational quotes that people are putting out, right? So when you hear about don't care about what people think, everyone's like, yeah, I don't care about what people think. What do you say about me? And so like, that's what people do. So you have to truly say, I don't care about what people think. Blah, 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 blah. You're like, all right, you're just doing your own thing, right? That's where you truly have to get to, because it's this insane level of power that you have. The first thing, like I said, just get to a point where you just make more money in general. That's just business, job, however you want to make more money. You just make more money in general. That's the first thing. The second thing, here, I'll tell you the stories. There's two stories really. The first time I was in college, so I'm playing basketball and I'm running for the ball and I stop real quick. I mean, like the Flash, and I was running so fast, like even the Flash couldn't keep up. So I'm running, I stop real quick, and then all of a sudden my leg, like one part went one way, the other part went the other way. So I tore my ACL, and it was like a full ACL tear, partial MCL tear. So it sucked real bad, hurt real bad. And then I had surgery, and then after surgery, they gave me pain pills. They gave me Vicodin and Oxycontin, right? And so I don't really want to take the pain pills because I'm like, I don't want to get hooked on this stuff, right? So I don't want to take the pain pills. So I was taking only ibuprofen. And I was like, let me just take ibuprofen instead of that sort of stuff. Then one day the pain was so intense, I was like, oh, damn it. So I took a Vicodin. I must have had some type of reaction to the Vicodin, because almost instantly when I took it, so I'm like, drink some water. And I noticed that it was really hard for me to just swallow the water. I'm like, what the hell? And so I call my mom up. My mom's like downstairs. When I call her up, I'm like, Mom, I'm like trying to breathe. I'm like, call 911, because I can feel like it's getting hard to breathe. And so she calls 911. She's freaking out, right? And so she calls 911. And I'm like, this is really, really hard to breathe. I'm trying to like drink water, and I could feel my throat like slowly like closing up. And then all of a sudden they get there. Literally, like when they knock on the door, ring the doorbell, whatever, literally it's just bam, my throat just shut. And I was like, and at that point, I was close to thinking I'm going to die. Like, holy shit. I'm just in college. I think it was senior year, junior year in college or whatever, but I'm thinking I'm going to die. Like, damn it. I got so much I want to do. I'm going to die just from a freaking Vicodin reaction, right? And so my throat closes up, and the guy, he gets up there, and I'm sitting there just like freaking out. And this guy, he goes, so tell me, what's wrong? And I'm like, and he's like, tell me. Are you all right? Just tell me what happened. And I'm like freaking out. I'm thinking, why is this dude not doing something? Can't he see? I can't breathe. I can't talk. And so, and I'm thinking they got to do that tracheotomy thing where they cut a slit in your throat. And so I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, this is what they're going to have to do, or I'm going to die real quick. And so, after a while, after a little bit, my throat just slowly opened up. I don't know what really happened, but he didn't really need to do anything. And so my throat just slowly opened up. Obviously I didn't die, right? So that happened then. Then about a little over a year ago, right? So right now I live in a high rise, but about a block away, or 3 blocks away, there's another little high rise that I was in. At about 1:13 in the morning, I'm sleeping, and I hear something with the door. So like, when you wake up, you're just not sure of where you are and things like that. So I hear something. I'm like, huh? I'm thinking like, was that a dream, or like, what the heck? And so I almost went back to sleep, because I'm thinking like, nah, you need a key fob to get into the other place as well. Like, I need a key fob. There's nobody breaking into my place. And so I almost go back to sleep. And then all of a sudden I hear it again. Like, huh? So I get up, because I'm thinking, nah, that didn't sound like a neighbor bumped into my door. It sounded like someone was literally messing with the door handle. And so I get up, grab a knife, and I got the phone in my other hand. I look through the peephole. And sure enough, some dude's out there trying to break into my place, right? And I'm like, and my heart start pumping real quick. I'm like, oh shit. And so instantly I just call 911. I like back up, right? And I've got all sorts of like video equipment and everything inside my place. So I'm wondering, like, am I being targeted? I mean, is there 1-2 guys out there? Like, do they have a gun? Cause I'm thinking home invasion. When there's a home invasion, why would they not bring a gun or some type of weapon, right? Something, oh my goodness. And so the other part of me was thinking like, okay, how long has he been trying to pick this lock while I was sleeping? And is he going to come in like literally this second or what? And so I didn't want to bang on the door, and then because The reason I don't want to bang on the door is because I wasn't sure they would go away, for one. And two, if they did go away, I was thinking, I don't want to go to sleep every night wondering when the hell they're going to freaking come back. And so that's why I didn't bang on the door. And so I'm just like, I'm on the phone with 911. I'm backing up. So let's say like I can reach out to the camera right now. That's about how far I am from the door. So I would back up and I'm like whispering with 911. Like at the same time, I'm waiting. If this door opens, I'm going to freaking drop the phone and stab whoever's coming in, right? It was actually, the knife was in my left hand because I'm left-handed. So I remember I was doing this, right? So I'm backing up and I'm just like trying to talk quietly on the phone with 911. I'm like, yeah, I'm so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And so, and then all of a sudden I'm just waiting. And so she says, on the phone, they finally get there. He's still trying to pick the lock. They finally get there. And because you need a key fob to get in, the cops couldn't get in. And so she was like, they're there. They just can't get in. I was like, there's a security guy. There's a security guy there. And she's like, there's no security guy down there. I'm like, tell him to break the fucking door down. Like literally that's what I said. I was like, tell him to break the fucking door down. Like I'm sitting there thinking, are you kidding me? They're going to wait. And there's literally 2 guys outside my place I'm about to get killed if they got a gun, right? And so I'm like, tell them to break the door down. And so finally they get in, but my specific apartment in that place, it was over in a corner. And so it wasn't like 101, 102, 103. So even though I gave them the actual apartment letters, it was just letters actually, they couldn't really find my specific apartment. And so I'm trying to describe over the phone, and this whole time I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, this dude's been picking the lock for a while right now. And so he's obviously having a hard time, but I'm thinking he's going to come in at any moment. I'm thinking I'm going to have to kill somebody. Whoever walks in first, I'm killing that person. I'm going to duck just in case there's a gun because they'll probably shoot through the door. So I'm going to duck and stuff. So I'm playing all in my head, right? And so I'm still talking with 911. They're like, they're there, but they can't find your specific apartment. So I'm trying to describe like, oh, when you go in the elevator, go out, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm thinking, should I just open this door and just freaking stab whoever's there? But once again, I'm thinking, I don't know if there's one guy there, 2 guys, if the other guy's standing next to him, like with a gun or whatever. And so I'm like, damn it. And then on top of that, if I do and the cops are there, they'd probably shoot me. Be like, oh, some black dude with a knife. Let's shoot the dude, right? So I didn't open the door doing that. So finally, after a while, all I hear on the other end, get down on the ground, get down on the ground. I was like, whew. And so the cops actually caught him. And so that was one of the most intense moments of my life when I thought someone was going to literally break in with me just standing right there, 1, 2 people. And those 2 moments, the moments where my throat closed up, thought I was going to die, the moment with the home invasion, those 2 moments I keep thinking back to whenever someone says anything about me or whatever with opinions, whatever. I keep coming back to those moments because I think to myself, if I were to die, or let's say someone were to diagnose me with cancer and I have a month to live, would I care? Like, would I care what people literally just said about me today, tomorrow, yesterday, whatever it is? Would I care? And the answer is always, always no. And so that's how I get to a point where I truly do not care what people think about me. You need to understand that when you get to that point and it's real to you. So once again, this isn't like a motivational quote and then one day people talk about you. You're like, what did they say about me? I mean, like literally I've gotten to a point where I do not care because of those 2 situations in terms of 1, I almost died because my throat closed up, couldn't breathe. 2, I thought I was going to die because of home invasion, didn't sure if they had a gun or not. And so when you truly understand that, then you stop caring so much about what people think of you and their judgments of you. And it's like little things like that in terms of not really caring and also understanding that they don't know you. So when people are talking about you, they're talking about one small part that they saw of you, probably. Like, they don't actually know you. They don't hang around you, none of that stuff. So they don't really know you at all in any way. They've known you for a few hours. So what? You've known yourself your entire life. So if you're willing to put other people's opinions over your own opinions, then what the hell are you doing? Right. And so you got to understand that people don't know you and you just understand, hey, you're a good person. Right. Understand that people's opinions are projections of themselves. So whenever someone says something about you and they're saying, oh, this person is X or whatever, they're talking about you, they're gossiping or whatever. It is a projection of who they are. A perfect example of this is actually what happened with my mom when she entered this store, right? This Native American store. And so Obviously everybody knows Hitler, Nazis, the swastika symbol, right? What people don't know is, well, let me just tell the story, right? So my mom goes into the store. Is like a Native American store. And she walks in and she sees all this memorabilia, right? She sees like a quilt. And on this quilt, it has different stuff, like different designs. Next thing she sees on the quilt is a swastika. I think I'm saying that, swastika, right? She sees it right on the quilt in a Native American store. She's like, oh, hell no. My mom is from Israel, by the way, like born and raised in Israel. And so she's a real Jew, not like a converted Jew. She's a real Jew, right? Which makes me Jewish. So my mom, literally born and raised in Israel. Her dad was in a concentration camp. So when she sees anything to do with that sort of stuff, flips out, right? So she damn near tore the whole place, like literally just freaking vandalized the entire place after seeing that, right? She's like, oh, hell no. She's getting pissed off. And the person sees her and they say, oh man, what's going on? Mama's like, no, what do you mean? What's going on? What are you having? She like flips out, right? And so what people don't know is that swastika symbol, it was actually hijacked by Hitler. It was actually a Native American symbol. It means well-being or good luck, something like that. So it means that. That's what it actually means. But he hijacked it, and then obviously now it means something different completely. So it was my mom's projection of her being from Israel, dad in concentration camp. Well, everybody's projection of that symbol, really. It was everybody's projection of that symbol, and she saw it, and then bam, she didn't see what the Native Americans see in terms of well-being and good luck. She didn't see that. Like what she saw was from her being Jewish, from her being born and raised in Israel. That's what she saw. And so you have to understand that when people react, it is a projection of who they are. And so the Native American, if Native Americans see that and they understand what it is, they don't react that way because they understand what it is in terms of their culture. Whereas in my mom's culture, and pretty much 99% of people, when they see that symbol, they understand, they think Hitler, right? And so you have to understand that everybody's opinions is always a projection of them more than of you. So it's like that Native American store owner. I mean, they had their own opinion of it. Hey, it's well-being, good luck, that sort of thing. Whereas everybody else has a different opinion of it. I mean, me as a Native American, I would just stop using the symbol altogether, but I don't know what they were thinking, but that's them, right? You just want to understand that everybody's opinions of you is really a projection of them. That's what it really comes down to. You can't get to a point where you're living your life based on other people's opinions, because then you end up just living their life. You end up living the life that they want you to live. And that's basically, I think that's what happens when people get to a point where they want to commit suicide, because they're not truly living their life. They're paying too much attention to people's opinions, to what people are saying about them, thinking about them, what they think other people are thinking about them, all that sort of stuff, instead of just doing them, right? And so they get to a point where all other people's opinions are more important than their own. And when you get to that point, you don't live your life. You live your life based on how you think other people should see you. And so it's really, really important that you stop doing that ultimately. I can't believe I forgot to say this. I meant to say this in the very beginning. So there's a book called The Fountainhead. The Fountainhead is one of my favorite books. My favorite books are the Harry Potter books, but The Fountainhead is one of my favorite books. And in that book, the character Howard Rourke, it's like him against the world, really. And it's basically the world's opinions against this one guy, Howard Rourke. And you want to get to a point where you're like the Howard Rourke guy, where even if the world's opinions are against you, it's almost like it doesn't really matter. I mean, it'd be hard to live if the world's opinions were against you, but still, you get the point, right? And so in the book, there's this quote where it says, a quest for self-respect is proof of its lack. So I'll say that again. A quest for self-respect is proof of its lack. When you are looking for other people's opinions and you're looking for other people's judgments, other people's self-respect, ultimately, it's almost guaranteed that you don't have any. Like, you don't think highly of yourself to hold your own opinions higher than other people's, that sort of thing, right? So you need to get to a point where you're not truly looking for other people to respect you, for other people to think highly of you, all that sort of stuff, because you think highly of yourself, you respect yourself, you know who you are. You have to truly, truly get to that point. And like I said, the two biggest ways to do that: make more money, because you're not dependent on people when you make more money, and two, get to a point where you understand, like, hey, at some point you're gonna die, right? It literally, the way I keep thinking about it, if ever there's a moment when I think like, oh man, that what they're talking about me or whatever, there's ever a moment like that inside of my brain, I literally say to myself, if I were to actually get diagnosed with cancer, would I care? The answer is always no. 100% nope, absolutely not. Because I'm like, oh damn, I literally wouldn't care. And so you got to get to that point. You also got to understand, like, will you be friends with them in 10 years from now? Absolutely not. You're not going to know who they are. They're not going to know who you are. Nobody's going to be talking about each other. You won't be friends with them. Think about all the people who've talked about you before, who've passed judgment on you, all that sort of stuff 10 years ago. Do you even remember what they said? Do you remember who they are? Do you remember anything about them? Probably not, until I just told you, right? Until I just said something. Now you're like, oh yeah, I remember freaking so-and-so from high school. Like you didn't think about it until I just mentioned it. And so you have to understand that in terms of little things like that. Little things like, in 500 years, what's going to happen? Are people going to remember you? Are they going to remember them who's talking about you? You got to think like that in order to actually free yourself from other people's opinions. Think about 500 years ago. Did you know a damn person from 500 years ago? Probably not. You didn't even know your great grandparents. You didn't know them. But I'll tell you right now, other people had opinions of them. Other people had judgments of them. Other people talked trash about them. But you don't not only know them, you don't know what was said about them. You don't know a damn thing about them. The only thing that you know are people who literally altered the course of reality, like Einstein, people like that. Those are the people that you know about. So you have to start putting things into perspective. Other people's opinions, judgments, it doesn't mean anything. It's like here, right? You got to think 500 years from now, what's going to happen? Nobody's going to remember any of that stuff. What are they going to remember? So that's what you ultimately want to think. There's another quote from the Fountainhead. This is absolutely my favorite quote from the Fountainhead. It was a conversation between the good guy and the bad guy. So the good guy is Howard Rourke. The bad guy is Toohey. I forgot, Ellsworth Toohey. That's the bad guy. The bad guy, he's talking all kinds of trash against Rourke. He's like saying the guy's buildings, and by the way, this guy's an architect. So he's saying his buildings are horrible and all that sort of stuff. He actually is affecting the good guy's reality. Like he actually is losing him business and all that sort of stuff. But so he's talking all sorts of trash and like everything. And then they finally see each other like in person, and they're alone. And so the bad guy, Mr. Toohey, he says this. He says to the good guy, he says, "Mr. Rourke, we're alone here. Why don't you tell me what you think of me? In any words you wish, no one will hear us." And then Mr. Rourke, he says, "But I don't think of you." And that is hands down one of my favorite quotes from a book ever. Like hands down. He's like, "Mr. Rourke, it's just me and you. Tell me, be honest. What do you think of me?" And the guy's like, "But I don't think of you." And you have to get to that point with other people's opinions. When other people have the opinions of you, the judgments of you, all that sort of stuff, you get to a point where it's like, sure, they're talking about you. And then they say, maybe one day they're like, "So, I mean, what do you think about me?" Right? It's like, I don't think about you. Don't care what you say about me. Don't care. Like literally, I'm focusing on my stuff. I do not care. So you have to truly get to that point. Worrying about other people's opinions causes you to lose focus on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. Remember, 500 years from now, what are people going to be saying about you? Are they going to be saying anything about you? So you have to think in terms of what are you trying to focus on? What are you trying to accomplish? There's that quote of lions don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. You got to remember that. Just think of everybody who talks about you as sheep. Like literally, you're like, "I'm a lion, you're a sheep." Lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. There's this other quote from the Fountainhead where it says, "Worry is a waste of emotional reserve." So what happens when other people have judgments on you, opinions, all that sort of stuff, you start to worry about it. Like, "Oh my goodness, what are they saying about me?" All this. You have all these sorts of worries inside of your brain. And you want to think literally from the Fountainhead, you want to think like that in terms of worry is a waste of emotional reserve. It doesn't do anything for you. You worry about what? Like what exactly are you going to do in terms of your worrying? All you have to do is just focus on your specific mission. Focus on what it is you are trying to get done, what you're trying to accomplish. You care about what you want to care about, not what other people tell you to care about. And so it really just comes down to that. It's like you care about what you want to care about, not what other people want you to care about. Ultimately, you're just going to live your own life. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And like I said, the biggest thing in terms of actually not caring about what people think of you is there's the two things, but the second one is the most important one. The first one is you simply make more money, because when you make more money, you aren't dependent on other people. You're just not. It's like, their opinion of you, their judgment, their gossip of you, it doesn't affect you because it just doesn't affect you. Like, it literally can't affect you, right? If, let's say, someone like Bill Gates were to talk about you, then you might be kind of screwed, right? Or even worse, someone with an actual like online following, let's say, I don't know, someone with a huge following online. Like, if they were to talk about you and talk trash about you, it probably can't affect you, right? Because they can be like, everybody go there and shut down this website or something. It can't affect you. But you have to get to a point where you make so much money that it doesn't matter what they say. And on top of that, most people can't affect you in that way. If Bill Gates, or hell, let's say Zuckerberg, right? If Mark Zuckerberg were to talk about you, then it would hands down affect you. But someone like Mark Zuckerberg, for one, he wouldn't talk about you. He's like, you're a sheep. He's like, I'm a lion. You're a sheep. I'm not going to talk about you. So for one, he won't do that. But for two, most people don't have the audience that Mark Zuckerberg has. People don't have that type of audience. So when people have opinions of you and everything, it's kind of like it stops there. So it's like they have an opinion, they talk to one person, 2 people, 3 people, whatever, but it just stops there. That's it. It stops at 10 people or however big their circle is. It's not that big anyways. It stops there. And so you literally have to get very practical about when other people judge you. It stops there. And on top of that, the second one, in terms of you literally get to a point where, hey, if you were diagnosed with cancer and you had a year to live, would you really care? So that's where you really want to get to that point. The second point is where you really want to get to. All right. Cool. So let's see. We are good to go with that. All right. Let's see. Glenn said, went to the YMCA this morning to hear a well-known basketball coach, now speaker consultant, give a speech. Halfway through, I started thinking, damn, I got a chance. Yep. All right. So let's see. All right. It took me a minute to get to the right place. Cool. All right, yeah, guys. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do everything where I'm talking about selling your expertise and motivation is going to be on this page. Everything about public speaking is going to be on the other page. So that's what we're going to be doing now. So we are good to go for today. I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.